It's still going live. Yeah, I am live for you all, and see you after a long time. Well, there are some things that I must tell you. One is a very important one. Just now, just before some 15 minutes or so, I have sent one WhatsApp message in the group of class 10. And if you have that message with you, it's okay. If not, I'm going to read it out for you. This is something about one essay writing competition, and this circular has come from CBSC, and it's a very good opportunity. Actually, it is the current situation, and on this current situation, this topic is given to us. Earlier, the date mentioned was 14th of August, which was the last date, but now this date has been extended, and by 22nd of August you can upload your PDF file of the essays that you prepare, and there is a possibility that you may win a prize, and a word limit and everything is already mentioned over there. If you see the last date, it is point number 3. It was earlier 14th August. Now it is extended, and you can just submit it by 22nd of August. And one link is given over there. You can just go to that link, exactly that site you can go to, and you post your file over there. You can upload your file over there of your essay. And essay is something about Atmanirbhar Bharat. So Atmanirbhar in English, I hope you understand, self-reliant India. And this concept of self-reliant India actually came during this pandemic era. The Prime Minister of our country, Shri Narendra Modi, he talked about this very important issue. There has been a long waited dream of our former president, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. He had dreamt of our country to be a developed nation by 2020. Well, we are living in this era of 2020, but still we are a developing nation. There is nothing wrong in dreaming. There is actually, if we have some dreams, we have some goal to pursue them and achieve. So just in that's line of thought, the Prime Minister, the present Prime Minister, because this situation of pandemic has troubled the whole of our nation, it has shaken us up. So that idea has come to the Prime Minister's mind, and he has urged the whole nation that we must become Atmanirbhar, we must become self-reliant country. That means for many things, as we depended on many countries like China, we depended on America, we depended on some other countries all around for many things. So that like recently we had our own India-made aircraft. So like that, this is something new, and this is something what we call a part of Atmanirbhar Bharat. So on this, I wish you all definitely try this, because there is, you don't have to, send it to us. You will have to just write it down. One important thing, let me tell you, please don't simply copy paste from Google Net. You of course, you can browse the net, can retrieve information on this issue, on this topic, and whatever best that you imagine, your own imagination must come. There are some points, given on maybe page number 3. What are those things actually it all covers? So any point from there you can just begin your essay with. Let me tell you, your essay should not be just information. It should be a wonderful way of articulation of your ideas. Your presentation should be excellent. In this way, in this line of thought, if I am to tell you, you have to not only put the idea, but you have to put that idea in a beautiful and emphatic manner. If you want to begin with a quote, you can. If you want to take the background for this, essay from the past of our country, that you can of course take. You can also take the background of our country as we had become a new nation, and since then today, what many things we have seen as change. Still, there is a lot to be done, and this is the new vision that our head of our country, the Prime Minister of our country, he imagines, and you and I will have to come forward. So this is one great idea. And see, you also have got story writing and all these things, so wherein most of the writing work actually comes. This will give you an opportunity. I wish you make the right use of this opportunity. Fine. On this, I think it is sufficient for today. And if there is any such purification of your essays is required, so you can always approach your English teachers. Or if you're writing in Hindi, that also can be done. You can approach your Hindi teachers. And I wish you write more in the English language. I teach you English, and I feel most of you people follow the English language. This is something which you do all want to learn, and this is all the whole world needs. Well, I do not mean to say Hindi is not required, but you can definitely take some help from your Hindi teachers too. And font size is always given over here. It is generally font size 12, that you can just take care of. And enough time is there, you can explore on this idea, and what many developments have already taken place, those you can pay attention to. And what more is to be done, you can think of. And your ideas always, I feel, your suggestions wherever you are giving, you always make a new paragraph. And if for certain suggestions, say if you have got 5-6 suggestions to make, which are your own novel ideas, so you can make points also for those kind of things. And if you want to elaborate those points, that also you can do. But don't write one essay which is only beginning from one line and ending at the last one. It should be split into paragraphs. It is generally based on the ideas actually you are projecting there in your essay. Fine. Now coming on to the text. One poem, the new poem we are taking up today, and the name of the poem is Animals. And this poem is written by Walt Whitman. He is an American poet. And let me tell you, we have already done enough about the last 2 chapters, and they were divided into 2 different parts, part 1, part 2. And for all the parts, we have done enough of work. Now only question answers were required, but I feel major work of us, getting questions for understanding that chapter, we have already done. Many questions I had asked you, and most of you people were able to answer. In the meanwhile, I mean to say, in the process of explanation of the chapter, this was already done. Now over to our next poem, and this is very small, but you will have to understand that the concept of the poem, the theme of the poem. Why does the poet say something about animals, and why he says, I'm not going to tell you now. First we'll read this poem out, and then let us try to understand. Well, about the poet, let me tell you. Of course, date is given over here. Born in 1819 and died in 1892. He is one of the major American poets. See, in English literature, earlier it used to be something about Britain, but later on, many countries that started writing in the English language, all those literature in the world now, if the English is written in English language is written in, you can say Canada, Australia. If it is written in Africa, South Africa. So wherever the English works are coming up, they all become part of English literature. So this American poet, he has great influence on poetry writing. There were known names for you like Wordsworth, Shelley, Keats, Byron, Coleridge. These were all some common names that you have already heard of in the English poetry. They belong to one particular era of poetry, writing poetry. American fellows, they had their own revolutionary ideas. This man had his own different ideas, and so his writing of poetry is different from what we generally feel is poem like. There should be meter, there should be rhythm, but this man did not believe in all this. The same kind of thing had happened when the poets like Wordsworth, Shelley, Byron and Coleridge, they started writing. And before them, there was a set form of writing poetry. They broke away with that form, and with them started a new trend of writing poetry. Similarly, in American literature, this man also, broke away from the tradition, and he started writing a poetry which was different for the audiences, different for the readers. And this different thing came because of the themes he chose, and because of the rhyme and rhythm that he followed little differently. He did not feel like writing in a metrical form. What is metrical form? Syllables are there. In each word, there are 1, 2, or 3 syllables, you will find. And those syllables together, they form a meter. This is especially followed in music, especially. But it comes for the poetry first, writing in that particular metrical form, so that it follows the rhythm of the music automatically. Here, this fellow did not, bother about all this. Well, this poem is taken from his another big poem named Song of Myself. This is also the name of his book that he has written. Leaf of Grass is another name of his poem, and also the name of his book. Well, when we read this poem, I think you would be able to understand. I think the extract is there of this poem, A Song of Myself. And from that extract, you would be able to find out that this poet gives us a different notion, a different opinion of the things that we have always very commonly seen or commonly, looked at. So this is about animals that the poet talks about. Well, I'm reading out, in the box, whatever is the given, and after that, the following poem. The poet tells us that he feels more at home with animals than humans, whom he finds complicated and false. Now, my question to you, what does it mean, feel at home? There is one phrase used over here. Do you know its meaning? And if you know, you can just put it here. My chat box is already open here, and I'm waiting for your response. The question is, what is the meaning of the phrase feel at home? That he is comfortable. Good. I got this answer. Quick answer from R. Karthika. Good, Karthika. I'm happy with your answer, and it is satisfactory answer. Relaxed, another answer. Harshita, Shakya, good. Relaxed is also another, meaning you can derive of. And feel comfortable, very good. She feels comfortable. Mahak, Adesh, Kritika. It means that he likes to be at home. No, Kritika, I'll comment on it. It's not like that. Monica Kumari says comfortable, and Tanish Yogi relaxed. Most of you have gone with that point of being comfortable and relaxed. Sometimes you go to your relatives' home, whom you do not frequently visit. So maybe when you are sitting there in the sofa, or sitting in a chair, or somewhere one corner of the room you have chosen to sit down, at such a time you might get a kind of response from your relative, feel at home. When you are at home, you are comfortable, you are relaxed. It is, the phrase is therefore very so clear for us. It makes us feel comfortable. Wherever we are comfortable, wherever we are relaxed, that kind of feeling. And now let us try to understand what the poet wants to say. He says he is happy, or he is comfortable, he feels at home more with animals than with human beings. Of course, our mind has a kind of question. We are human beings. We like to be among humans, not among animals, first of all. But the poet here chooses being with animals than with human beings. So what may be the reason? The reason, the poet actually is going to elaborate in his words in the poem. Let us try to find out. I'll read the poem first of all. You also follow me, as with your textbook there at your hands. I think I could turn and live with animals. They are so placid and self-contained. I stand and look at them long and long. They do not sweat and whine about their condition. They do not lie awake in the dark and weep for their sins. They do not make me sick discussing their duty to God. Not one is dissatisfied. Not one is demented with the mania of owning things. Not one kneels to another, nor to his kind that lived thousands of years ago. Not one is respectable or unhappy over the whole earth. So they show their relations to me, and I accept them. They bring me tokens of myself. They evince them plainly in their possession. I wonder where they get those tokens. Did I pass that way huge times ago and negligently drop them? Well, with a question, he ends this poem. That the question he puts to himself. Well, in the meanwhile, of course, I had got answers from these people: Shreya, Arushi, Santosh, Basant, Sudhanshu, and Anish, Sneha, Ojasvi, Tanish. Why I am reading out all your name is I am to tell you that I am always, looking at whatever you are writing over here, and I am happy that you are giving the responses, because this is something which is, the sign of an active student, and you have been quite active. So most of you people feel, it's something about comfortable. Only one has written here, be friendly and informal. Well, you can say it's one meaning, but more an accurate meaning that we have derived for years together is this: you feel at home. This means you feel quite comfortable. For example, if you are at your workplace and your boss makes you feel at home, so what does he do? He makes you feel relaxed, or he makes you feel comfortable. You don't have to hesitate for certain things. Like at your home, how comfortable are you? You just want to have a glass of water, you just go and get it for yourself. Either you drink, or you bring it to one particular room and then you drink it. You feel like eating anything. Do you have any restriction over there? No, because you are comfortable, because you feel at home. So same way, if you are at a new place or at an unknown place, and when you are told feel comfortable, this means, hey, you feel at home. Now, there might be some words over here in this poem which you might feel are a bit difficult. So those words, you can just write down their meaning. Is one is placid. You can say calm, very quiet or calm. That is the meaning. The word, second line, placid. Next is self-contained. That is, they have control over themselves. They don't get actually not. They don't want to be controlled by anyone. They themselves are, such that they understand what is their limitation. Just like that, you can understand. Then next to next line, they do not sweat and whine. Here, the meaning you have to understand is they do not complain. They do not have, grumbles about people or the things around. That is why. So they do not cry out, or they do not scream out their complaints. Then since, then next to next line, that is, not one is dissatisfied, not one is demented. That is something like you have effect of madness. You can just write down effect of madness. So demented is somebody is having this kind of effect of madness on himself or herself. Mania is, you understand something about too much you want, to the extent of madness. That is mania. And Nil is bent down. Tokens, actually, this meaning you will have to understand, and therefore you can just write down one word over there for this word tokens. Symbols. Symbols, expressions, gestures, you can say. Okay. And these symbols can also be the symbols of true nature. And this true nature can also mean nature of honesty, nature of care, nature of innocence, nature of, any virtues that we talk about. So these things are symbolized here by the word tokens. Now get back to the line number 1. I'm just reading out the line, and hope you follow my explanation right after that. I think I could turn and live with animals. They are so placid and self-contained. So here itself we got the meaning. What does the poet want to say? I just want to turn. I just want to switch over to. This is the meaning that you can understand. I just want to now stop, being in the company of somebody else. Instead, I want to be there in the company of animals. I just want to change my opinion. I just want to change my idea of staying with anybody else, and I want to live with animals. Why? The answer is given over here: because they are so calm, because they are so quiet, and because they are so self-contained, because they regulate themselves. They have control over themselves. They do not, want somebody else to guide them, as to what to live, what to do, what not to do. because they themselves, within their own limits, they always live in. Um, this is what directly the poet says. Now, behind this idea, what can be the opinion of the poet? Maybe he must have noticed somewhere that in the company of humans, he might have found that there are some natures of people that make him feel little comfortable, because according to him, they may not be so quiet, or they may not be so calm, they may not be so peaceful. And because he misses all these qualities now in the company of human beings, he feels, where does he find all these qualities? So according to him, he finds those qualities there in the animals. So what kind of animal it can be? So any animal you can just take. So of course here mentioned here the word animal, but it can be any pet of yours. It can be any bird. There are some people who find solace in the company of natural beauty. So it is something good. It is something, that gives you real or genuine pleasure, and because it makes you happy, you always want to be there in the company of the naturalness and all natural bounties. You always want to be a part of. If something like innovations and technologies, they make you feel comfortable and make you happy, so it is this particular thing you always want to spend your time with. Now here, of course, he has talked about animals. These animals can be very generally, we say, the dogs or the kittens. They always have been there in the company of human beings, and we have always found them being very honest or very caring. How do they express their love? That you might have observed in some of your houses. There might be some pet like this. There might be a puppy or a dog, or maybe a kitten or a cat, and how nicely you might have enjoyed their company. So this is what the poet wants to convey to us. They are more genuine. It is possible sometimes, like the last chapter, let us take for example. Genuine was Vanda, but equally genuine whether these two girls were, Maddie and Peggy, with this girl Vanda. No, she suffered by being there in the company of human beings. If she had been, of course, there in the company of these small pets and small animals, do you think that she would have faced any such kind of negative kind of impact, like teasing her because she was poor, teasing her because she was a polished girl? No, animals do not distinguish like that. And this is how you will have to understand when the poet says it's not just an answer to the question in whose company he wants to live, but why he wants to live. This very important question gives us the complete idea about the whole poem, and therefore you can come to know that the poet has got such noble thought to convey to us. Whether he therefore forces us to live the company of human beings and always be among animals, that's not his idea actually. His idea may be, he wants to make us aware that the people around you may not be your friends, though they pose themselves to be that they are your friends. But if you make any animal your friend, what will happen? That animal will have complete honesty for you. You might have come across many such WhatsApp videos wherein on the way, if a fellow monkey had died because of an accident, the other monkeys, they did not just leave that fellow, they just went close to the corpse of the monkey, died monkey, and check it out whether it had any life left in it, whether it was really their friend, their comrade had met this kind of bad fate that particular day. And in some cases, you might have also noticed that these quiet and dumb animals, they might have made an effort to give life to the seemingly dead friend of theirs. This is something, a kind of beauty. But if we compare with human beings, sometimes you might have seen many times, not just sometimes, at an accident site, people just watch the thing and just run away from there. For a very simple reason, they just don't want to become a part of investigation of the police, and they just simply. So here comes the end of humanity. See, you can give answers to the police because you were not involved in it. Well, it sometimes may go the other way around also, I accept it. Still, whether for the wrong thing, totally, completely wrong thing, whether you will be held responsible and whether you will be punished by the law, it will not happen so. But by doing so, I mean to say, by leaving that site and by leaving that, nearly dead person, you are actually making that fellow die. This should not have happened. This should never happen. And this is possible that your own very close friend may sometime leave you in a tough time and in difficulty, but your pets or the animals whom you trusted, they will never leave you in such kind of danger. Sometimes they may hurl their lives in utter danger, but they would try to rescue you, they would try to save you. Maybe this may be one, some of the reasons why does the poet say, now I feel like turning to my regular routine and I would like to, stay in the company of animals. I think I could turn and live with animals. They are so placid and they are so self-contained, and I stand and look at them long and long. Achha, how he might have noticed all this? Not just by having a glance at the animals. Actually, it must have come by observing these animals for a long time, and that's why he says, watching them long for a long period of time. As he watched them, he was able to understand or read their nature, and could therefore conclude how nice these animals are. And that is why he says, I stand and look at them long and long. It is out of wonder that the poet feels how great understanding these animals have for each other. They do not have any grudge against anyone. They do not have, a comment of dislike for anyone. Instead, they appreciate anything good, in the human being. So whatever, good comes for us, let us be appreciative of it. If you show love and care to these, kittens or pets, you would definitely receive all that care and affection from these animals back. You might have noticed it several times, and that is why sometimes when you might be kid, might have insisted that you had your own own pet. That might have made you feel so happy, all because that pet makes whole environment so lively. It engages everyone, and all their emotions and love, they are very genuine. Human beings can act, animals do not act. They have whatever goes on. If they are angry, they will express their anger. If they are unhappy about it, that they will again express. If they are very fond of you, they will express. If they have fear of you, that also they will express. But human beings are a little different. I have noticed very common kind of expression in the classroom. Whenever any question is asked to a student, so first he takes that question in a negative sense. Why me? This is one thing. And second is, if he or she does not know the answer, instead of feeling sorry, instead of having that expression of sorry, directly showing it to the teacher, what he does is he would look around to his friends and they will throw a smile at that fellow, and this fellow will reflect that smile to the teacher. See, it doesn't matter to me, I don't know. This kind of attitude. So this is, of course, shown by a human being only. But when it comes for the animals, they are not like that. Maybe here the poet wants to convey that genuine nature the humans have forgotten. But that does not mean that we human, must always forget it. By forgetting all that, their job is going to be done. It's not so. We will have to learn from this, expression of the poet. He wants to tell us, now it's time we want to learn from the animals. Let us be genuine, let us be true, let us be factful. So let us not fake many things. Let us be, appreciate of anything good, anything that we love of. I stand and look at them long and long. They do not sweat and whine about their condition. This line I would like to, explain to you a little more in detail. You might have come across many people, complaining about what they do not have. And what they have, about that, very rarely people do, speak of. Very rarely do they say they are blessed that they have got these beautiful things. Like at present, I say, of course, there are one or two cases now in Rawatbhata. But what I find is still we are safe. And still there are just, countable cases. They are not many in number, but unlike the Rawatbhata, you will find many places wherein this number of cases have increased tremendously. Now, yesterday's 24 hours report was 63,000, and you just imagine the places, you already know those places wherein the number of cases are in plenty. You can also imagine the difficult time for those people who are living in such area, how they would be going out, their children's needs may be there, and there may be some pressing situation in their native places to visit their elderly people. They may be ailing and what not. These kind of difficult times may be there, but this difficult time, this difficult situation, how they might be handling, if we imagine and compare all that, you will definitely find we are still better at present in this place called Rawatbhata. Therefore, you will notice there is a common nature of human being, of not getting this or that, or why only me, why not somebody else, why all bad things happen with me, why only misfortune strikes my door, why not somebody else's, why my enemies are happy and why only am I suffering. This is all kind of complaint. There are people who complain about they are getting only this kind of living condition. You can of course make better, there is no doubt, but because somebody else is getting better condition, therefore I must be unhappy. This is something wrong, and this happens with human beings, and this does not happen with the animals, and that is why the poet is quite happy, and he therefore feels like now it is high time that he turned to animals and stayed in the company of animals than being in the company of human beings, because maybe for him the human beings are giving him the negative impact most of the time, not affirmative and positive. They do not sweat and whine. Together you can take the meaning of this phrase. They do not complain, they do not scream in, or they do not grumble. This is what the animals do not do, but humans do. They do not sweat and whine about their condition. They do not lie awake in the dark and weep for their sins. These, I think, both lines, two lines, are of course very important in my opinion. You see what happens here in the next line, the second line here. It says, they do not lie awake in the dark. So who lie awake in the dark? Generally the human beings. Now, if I am to ask you, what for? So in a funny manner, you might say, sir, we have got studies, and so we remain awake, isn't it? Here I am getting one kind of comment here. Pradeep Verma says, Hardik Soni, real ID, okay, and present, sir, since beginning. Fine. So I register your presence, and I'll just check it up whether you're given attendance for my class. Fine. So coming back to the important point that we were discussing, human beings have this tendency to pass their time mostly at night awakened. In a jovial manner, in a joking manner, sir, we have got a lot of work, so we will have to remain awake. See, if you are remaining awake for a work, that is good, and there is nothing wrong. Here, what the poet wants to convey is, because your mind is not peaceful, because you are not able to experience that peace of mind, so you remain awake. If your mind is agitated, if your thoughts are ruffled, if you are not composed, don't you feel that you are not going to pass the night in a very peaceful manner? Of course, you will be restless all night. But that does not take place with animals. You know why? Because they themselves, first of all, do not commit any sin. Now, what is the idea of committing sin for animals? And then you say it is for the other people. I mean to say for human beings. It varies. See, if you are a vegetarian fellow, for you, the one who eats non-vegetarian food is a kind of demon. You might feel, what kind of food does he eat? Killing an animal and then eating it. Now, in the same fashion, if you want to justify this, if for their survival, the animals have to, of course, hunt other animals and then eat the flesh and then survive like that. This is for survival we do. Now we have, two people in the society, in the whole world, vegetarian and non-vegetarian. Of course, egalitarian is there. So, of course, other varieties, of course, we can see. But the point here to discuss is, those people who commit sin, they are the human beings. And animals do not commit any sin because They do not have any grudge against anybody. They do not have any, rivalry against anybody. They do not have any jealousy against anybody. And that is why they are more genuine, they are more honest, they are more innocent, and they are more truthful. And they do not weep for their sins. See, what is one more complicated issue with human beings? We commit sin, and before we commit the sin, we know it is a sinful act, and still do we do. And after doing all that, we have to repent, and then we have to cry. We have to, be restless. We do not experience that state of mind where we get complete peace of mind. That we are not going to experience. Therefore, the poet wants to say this, sinful tendency is not there of the animals, and so he prefers animals are better than human beings. They do not make me sick discussing their duty to God. See, there are people who do not believe in the existence of God. That is still okay. But there are people who do believe in the existence of God, but will have to still grumble. Arey yaar, I will have to go to the temple. I will have to perform this puja. If all these are the problems for you, God does not want you to perform all that. That is all you have created to feel that by that you are going to be satisfied. God does not need satisfaction. Like He Himself gave you all that, and He doesn't want offering from you all this kind of things. So bigger way, if you try to understand, the concept is little different. But He might have noticed, like the Christians on Sunday they visit the church. So He might have noticed some people, even to get ready to the church or getting ready for any religious, you can say, event or performance, they might be grumbling. That is why He feels it is something that the human beings do. Their duties to God, they feel it's very common, it's very natural, they should do. But even while doing so, they feel that it is something great that they are doing, and because of that, it is a kind of painful act for them. Therefore they feel it is something that the human beings do, but the animals do not have this kind of complaint to God. They do their duties as honestly as any genuine person, any truthful person should do. I think for today I must end this poem over here, and see you tomorrow in the next class. Okay, and please do something about the essay I told you. Okay? Okay, good day. Bye.